Following the invasion of the Falkland Islands by Argentine forces on the 2nd of April 1982, a British task force was deployed to retake the islands. Part of those who were deployed was the British 3rd Battalion Parachute Regiment, commonly known as Free Para. Now, 41 years later, 3 veterans from Free Para have returned to the Falklands to tell their story.
I'm Boyd Smith. In 1982 I was a corporal in the 3rd Battalion Parachute Regiment, and I was with D Patrol Company as a patrol commander.
My name's Mick Robson. I am from Devon in England, and in 1982 I was serving with D Patrol Company 3 Para.
My name's John Tompkins, known as Tomo. I'm 62 years old. Yeah, I am 62 years old, I have to think now. And I was in the Falklands 41 years ago in D Patrol Company 3 Para.
I think, in hindsight, having done this trip now and actually looking at the things we were doing and realising now how close we were to the enemy, then yeah, it just kind of... But at the time, I guess you're kind of young and fearless. I think that's probably the best way to put it. You know, you just do your job and hopefully you come out of it okay.
You're naive when you're 21, don't you? You're indestructible, you know, sort of. So that does help a little bit. Of course, you didn't know what you're going into, so you don't really understand the dangers, but yeah, I think we soon learned a little bit more. But
so I was the gunner, so that's the patrol gunner, so I carried a GPMG to start off with, and then towards the end, towards Longdon, I became, as we started to take a few casualties because of the cold weather, I became the radio op. But I was also a medic as well, so multi-role. So we had to be self-sufficient, not just for here, you know, in our role in general, we had to be self-sufficient. There was 4 of us, and you know, we had to look after each other.
one of the problems is we used to work in 4-man groups, and so you never actually knew what other people were doing. And I mean, people say that they have a very small idea of what's going on. And we lived in a sort of a microcosm, you know, we just knew what we were doing. And again, we weren't always briefed where everyone else is, because if we were captured, then we couldn't give the game away really. So we didn't know what they're doing, we couldn't spill the beans on them, so we didn't know much. And you always had to be self-reliant. And so you don't have to rely on other people. Carry your own food, carry as much of your own self-reliance, you know, look after yourself. Don't expect someone else to pull you out the shit. You know, you got yourself there, you try and work yourself out of it. You know, it's an attitude, I think, really.
You know, we had 7 days rations, full 320s. Each person had a radio, full weapon scales. You know, our Bergens were probably anywhere between 120, 150 pounds. You know, we had hand generators and loads of kit. We had to leave most of our own personal clothing and everything. We had 2 sleeping bags between 4 of us. Because we had to be self-sufficient, obviously we had to carry all that kit between the 4 of us. We hadn't got a choice.
So I think we landed at, I think it was 11 a.m. I think, I can't remember. So we landed broad daylight, which was an error, and we had mortar bombs. We were allowed to carry extra mortar bombs off in these sort of the tubes of 2 on a sling. As you got off, you'd hand them to the mortarman who'd be stacking them. We just dumped them and literally moving off the beach, and there was a Pucara coming around. And so literally within about 2 minutes of landing, we were actually there's enemy action going on. You know, they actually weren't attacking us, they were turning back round to go, I think it's 4-2 Para, the 4-2 commando, they're attacking them, I think, because they'd already strafed them and they're doing a return attack. So that was 2 or 3 minutes, we're already, this is, you know, lots of bangs, this is real now, it's not an exercise, it's sort of that's a real thing.
Where we landed, it was on Green Beach. But Green Beach had got a backlog of landing craft going in on the day because the landings were delayed. The beach was then full of landing craft, so as we were coming in as D Company, most of our tasks were out further afield than actually Port St Carlos settlement. And my task was to go out onto the Picos Mountain, set up an observation post there and an early warning position. and that was covering down towards Paloma Bay or Paloma Beach, Smiley's Rock and Smiley's Creek. And then we had a big OP screen, we call it, out where we could all communicate, but all, in most cases, see each other, but then we could see everything else around us in a big circle to give early warning to the other rifle companies and the beachhead.
I mean, the territory when you landed is, I mean, it's quite familiar. It's familiar to a few of the training places that we have in the UK. I mean, we were tired, we were hungry. You know, we weren't, at that stage we weren't getting enough food because of the logistical problems that we had. We'd do that thing, we'd go back, we'd maybe get a little bit of rest, do a little bit of a resupply, and then we'd be straight back out again. And sometimes we didn't even bother going back. You know, we just existed on what we had, and because it was easier to stay out near Longdon, because you know that's 10 miles at night time. You know, going all the way back to Stanshire, just keep doing that over and over again. You know, it takes it out of you. And you know, you're always in danger when you're approaching your own lines anyway. You know, so it's better if you don't go back through your own lines because you know everyone's tired and you know accidents happen. So yes, it's better just to stay out there.
I was injured during the reconnaissance. Yeah, so we haven't done the reconnaissance, and as I said, I ended up with trench foot and frostbite. I'd done all this wading up the rivers in the Mark 1 depth gauge. Obviously paid the toll, didn't it? I felt very bad about it for quite a long time actually, and as only when I heard sometimes later someone said, oh, the patrol company was an expendable asset. You know, I have to keep the rifle companies and the support companies as fit as possible. Those are the fighting elements of the battalion, and the patrol company is used to lead them in, to protect them, and that's what we're there for, you know.
Most of that time then, when we were in observation posts, was watching the activity and routine of the Argentinians on Longdon, confirming the locations. They'd got like a field kitchen at the back end that they were doing relief in place and going back and eating at. There was a couple of times when there was the white helicopter coming in, you know, the Kazivac helicopter that they'd got, came in a couple of times, took people out. The rest of the time was either then calling down artillery fire, because again that's part of our task, on opportunity targets and to weaken the defences, really, their morale and everything else before the main attack. Then the final task was then to take C Company, who were the reserve company. So other guys had got A Company and B Company. John was lead mainly with B Company because that was his area that he carried out lots of the reconnaissance on. And they were the lead assault company onto Longdon. So I took C Company round, got them into their start line. Then it was, you know, the attack, you know, which was, again, you know, noisy. I think it was around about 1 o'clock, you know, that time. And it just carried on until first light.
I remember that night, there was a brief burst of gunfire off to our right, which is in the Two Sisters area. Now we don't know whether that was maybe just the Argentinians getting jumpy or whether it's someone from Royal Marine Commandos bumped into somebody or whatever. But really the start of it was the anti-personnel mine going off. We heard that quite clearly when one of our guys shot on it, and the scream that came afterwards, and then just the whole place just lit up basically.
The Argentinians weren't just firing at what I would say the direction of the assault coming in. They were in their defensive positions just firing out. So where A Company went round and where C Company went round, you know, they were, you know, getting incoming fire as well, and you know, it just lit up, and there's pictures of all the tracer going round. Rounds whistling, cutting through the grass right next to you, and everything. It was really scary. Yeah. I mean, there was lots of times where you had that reality check.
How old were you?
I was 22. The other guys were like 20 and 19.
I mean, you know that in amongst all that, people are starting to get killed. But we had done a lot of kind of live firing exercises at night. So that's actually seeing the kind of trace and everything wasn't anything new to us. But yeah, it was scary. I would say it was scary. And then later on, when we started to get the artillery and mortar rounds coming in as well, then it became really scary. Yeah.
Rounds whizzing around everywhere, and obviously there was still rolling ground mist coming in and out, and mortar fire coming down and things. But the full moon as well, you know, silhouetting everybody. So as soon as you got up and started moving, you were a target. B company were going up, A company, and it just seemed like ages, you know. It wasn't quick at all, it just carried on and on and on. As B company went up onto the position, the firepower that was coming down onto us kind of minimised. And then when A company went through B company, then it slowed down even more, then it stopped. You know, then by that stage it was getting to first light. Everybody could see everybody, really. Part of the tactics back in those days was never reorganise on the position. They're going to bomb, or they're going to call the artillery firing or whatever on that position that you've just attacked, theirs. So don't reorganise on it, get off it, reorganise, you know, that kind of stuff. But there was no other choice. A company were up on there, B company were up on there, C company were probably the only ones that were in any cover from Stanley, the gun line down on the racecourse, the heavy guns just on the 155s on the outskirts of Stanley, and then it just, you know, it was just artillery fire, constant. There was shrapnel going everywhere, peat going everywhere, you know. But up on Longdon, because it's so rocky, you know, it wasn't just the fragmentation of the shell going off, it was the rock as well that just sprayed everywhere. We were taking incoming all the time, and we think that there was Argentinian spotters obviously on Wireless Ridge who could see more of where C company were than A and B company up on Longdon. So we started getting more artillery fire coming down on us. After the shelling, we then got told sort of 13th, so that was the 12th, the 13th, then on the 14th they surrendered.
Obviously there was a great relief, really, that it was over. We didn't actually believe it. We didn't believe that they had thrown their hands in so easily, you know, relatively easily, because we knew how many troops they had on the island, so, and we knew that there was no way we'd captured or killed or wounded that, you know, that amount of troops. So we knew there were still thousands of them in Stanley.
I had never any doubts in me. It sounds silly, but I never doubted for a minute that we wouldn't win. So people say, oh, it was a close one thing, but it just didn't.
Everybody was a little bit dubious about it, and wanted to carry on.
I think the realisation set in when we got into Stanley. I think we were the first people from 3 Para to get into the outskirts of Stanley, because we just pushed on ahead and we tagged onto the back of 2 Para that were coming off Wireless Ridge. Seeing all of the Argentinians fleeing down the roads in towards Stanley. And then you kind of thought, yeah, okay, you know, it may be true. And then we came across some 1 wounded Argentinian and 3 prisoners. And then I think you realise, yeah, this might be over.
But it was kind of really quite hard, because then you started thinking about all the things that had happened, you know, because at that point you weren't thinking backwards, you were just constantly thinking, well, where are we going next? What are we going to do next? So, you know, then you kind of started getting the realism and everything about what you had actually done, you know.
I just remember being so tired that I couldn't think of anything else. Just so tired. I lost nearly 2 stone in weight, and we were just all physically exhausted. And we found an abandoned Jeep, Argentinian Jeep, and we just sat in there and waited for the battalion to come through.
The attack on Mount Longdon on the night of the 11th to the 12th coincided with assaults on Two Sisters and Mount Harriet as the last stretches before forces could retake Stanley. By the time the Battle of Mount Longdon had finished, 23 lives had been lost from free para and 43 had been wounded.
In my memory, the Falklands is always a grey, cold place. That was my memory of the Falklands. Coming back now and seeing how everyone seems to be prospering. Stanley's been built up. It doesn't look the same kind of really old place that it looked in 1982. Obviously, it's a lot cleaner and everything because, you know, the Argentinians left the place in the right state. So I'm really pleased that it's prospering and it looks good.
It's good to see that the people are doing so well, you know, and again, it's totally worthwhile. You know, I've actually also served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I feel sorry for the people who were killed or injured there, because you can say, well, what was the point? You know, but here, you say, well, I can see there is a result, and we achieved something, you know, and it's worth knowing. To see the kids, you know, it's good. It's good.
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, you know, that we get this gratuity off all of the people, you know, and we have got that bond with those people, you know. Yes, because we all fought for keeping this island British for them. There was never any doubt or question about why we did it.